not the same person. Check your DNA is different from her and you and him. So we are all different. So that means whatever you understood is good. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Then you come with the thought process into the classroom, and now you have a session. Hopefully your professor is prepared, right? Sometimes professors are not prepared. I have to be honest with you. They're not. They're busy. They're solving big problems of Symbiosis Institute or whatever they're busy, you know, and they're not prepared, they're not ready. It's not limited to this school. I did it, other people do it, we're all busy. We have to publish papers, we have to travel. There is not much time left to actually devote that time to be ready for the class. Getting ready for the class is a hard work. If you really want an engagement from the students. If you want to come and lecture for 50 minutes and go bye-bye, that's an easy process. But that's 25 years ago. That period is gone. Simply that period is gone, right? And then, finally, you are looking for some conclusions, recommendations, some solutions. Again, remember, in a management process or a business process, anybody from company here who is a CEO or some capacity? Company? Which company, sir? Oh, FMA Digital, very nice. So the conclusion, recommendations, and all of that, there is no right or wrong answer. It depends on how you're going to solve, and is your team ready to solve the problem the way you have designed to solve. Because if you give the same case study to a different group, they have other solutions. And it doesn't mean they're wrong and you are wrong. It depends on how your CEO, your team, and your employees or your group is going to address the students, right? So always value each other. Always value each other, because everybody is important. Everybody should be counted. Because as a management and business student here, in a few years you're going to be the leaders of the community, leaders of the companies, leaders of the state. Who knows? You could be a prime minister of India. I don't know, right? So you are very special and very unique. And use this time, this 2 years you have. Every single moment is precious. Think about it for a second. Every single moment of your life you're spending here is really precious. And you will realize the value of this time when you graduate, when you're out in the field. You will remember somebody came from California said this, right? And it's very, very important. So I wanted to take some time for you to digest what we are getting into over the next minutes, right? So what do I want to achieve from this workshop? So especially I was asking somebody from the industry also, professors, folks from the industry and the students, is that we need the training, our mindset. And in this day and age of social media and distraction, training is considered and taken very lightly. It shouldn't be like that. Because if you're trained properly, even for one case, as I said at the beginning, if your mind is trained properly, you can solve any problem. Because you are thinking through, you're taking time, and you're trying to address the issues. My professors, when I took these classes, he used to say, if you have 10 seconds to decide anything, for 9 seconds, think. And in the 10th second, decide what you want to do. Don't jump to conclusion just because you know the answer or you're thinking this is the right solution. Take time to think through. Think for 9 seconds and then solve that addressable. So that's what we want to do here, hopefully over the next few minutes we have together, is we are trying to train our mind and very methodically, logically, right? Oh, the other thing is, symbiosis especially is at a very nascent stage, 3-4 years, right? It's going to improve the ranking if the professors and the students that you go out, you present this model to the world, that this is an amazing and a remarkable school. Why? Because they teach us how to think properly. They train our mind. They're not dumping the data. Because data, big data is out there. You don't have to go to school. You can Google or find any topic that you're looking for is there. But that's not why you're here. You want to train yourself so you become valuable asset to a company, to organization, to an institution. Why stop at 6 lakhs? Why can't be 60 lakhs? They will pay you 60 lakhs if you train your mind properly. Because the moment you start speaking, they say, I want this guy. Because he has a very different view of how to solve problems, right? Okay. All right, here's an assignment for Dr. Tanmay and other folks from Symbiosis here. If you're not doing this, please do this. Give an award to a professor. Year of case study, best case study professor. Make this as a part of their promotion, reappointment, or a merit that you give them every year. Give them an assignment, give them a task. If they're teaching 6 courses a year, and if they use, say for example, 15 cases or 20 cases, and do a survey, not just from the students, but the faculty, staff, and administration. Give them an award. Have some incentive. Doesn't have to be money, right? And it's good to have some cash attached to that. It's always people like some cash. Depending on if you are a millionaire already, it doesn't matter money. But people are promoted and motivated by a variety of different reasons. Public appreciation, bring them here, give them an award, pat them on the back. They'll love it. Some people like money, give them money. Whatever works for your symbiosis, but please do this. I guarantee you this is going to change the complexion of your school, right? Okay, very nice. So the main objective of a case study is to provoke thought, which you have not thought about. That's what we want to do. When you look at a case, you start thinking. There may be 10 different ideas to solve this problem, not just one. Don't settle for one. Let's say you decided, hey, here is X is a solution. You go to a group study and you got X, Y, and Z. Don't stop there. Say, well, let's see if A, B, and C is possible too. Right? So we want to provoke your thought, rack your brain, and bring those brain cells to life, right? Okay, because why are we doing this? Because it's about strategy and leadership. That's what an MBA is supposed to do. MBA should not be training you to go and work at McDonald's or some other place. Doesn't mean that that's not a good job, but you got to be thinking about how am I going to use my degree in the next 3 years, 5 years, and 7 years? Can I provide the leadership? Do I have the capacity? Have I developed myself to think through things? Right? Okay? Very good. So as I said, as with the quality of thinking and the character, I like what Mukesh said about ethical hacking part. I mean, he could go out and make a lot of more money what he's doing because he knows how to get to your Symbiosis website and do those tricks, right? But he said one thing very beautifully, because if ethics is gone or character is gone from our life, what is left? Nothing. Seriously. Even in fact, you may acquire a lot of money, but when you go to sleep, you know you did wrong. Because your conscience, your soul, will not permit you sleep well. And this is coming, I'm not just saying this just because I wanted to say this, this is based on pure research. That people who do fraud and all those kinds of things, they can't sleep well. So what's the point of getting an MBA degree and making $10 million but can't sleep? You're missing the point, right? So we want to sleep well. Marketing people, can I see a show of hands, how many of you have taken marketing? Okay, beautiful. So this morning was less, but more students are here. So in marketing, there are 4 P's. Who can tell me what are those 4 P's? Quickly. Very nice. So there are 4 I's here as we get to management. So imagine, improve, inspire, and ignite. That's what leadership is supposed to do. One of the fundamental principles of leadership is nothing but influence. Leadership is not about money, but it will give you money. But leadership is all about influence. Because as in marketing, what we say is, when you're trying to sell a product or a service, what you're trying to do is plant a seed in the minds of the customer. Whether he or she buys your product or service, it doesn't really matter. But what you have done, you planted a seed. You say, you know what? You may be using Colgate toothpaste. Fine. Here is Sensodyne. Just try once. Whether that person tries Sensodyne or not, it doesn't really matter. But you planted a seed in the mind of that customer. There is another toothpaste called Sensodyne. So when you go to the market, you're looking on the shelf and you don't find Colgate, is out of stock or something, then you remember, wow, let's look for Sensodyne. And that's it. You may be doing this after 6 months, 3 months, even a year, but our mind is amazing. We talk about clouds, storage, and servers. They are nothing compared to this human mind. It has stored the Sensodyne somewhere here. And a light bulb goes up when you don't find that Colgate on the shelf. You see, wow, there is Sensodyne, let me try this. So that's why leadership is all about influence. If you can influence people, they may not act immediately, or maybe a week or a month or a year, but try this in your life. They will act on what you told them because you influenced them. They'll use that knowledge. Even 20 years. People come and say a lot of different things to me over the years. Leadership, always remember, you're not trying to convert people, you're not trying to do anything. All you're trying to do is influence people, period. You do that, you're highly, highly successful, right? Okay, so that's what we're saying, the 4 I's. Why case method? Just one reason, there are many, they are listed here. One is the multiple perspective. Sometimes we have this one solution, a tunnel strategy, my way or a highway, as we say in America. This is how it's supposed to be. That's how my father did, that's how my mom did, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't have to think the other ways of doing things. But a case study, not a PowerPoint presentation from your textbook, not just a lecture from your professor, but something in the case makes you think, and that's what we want to do. Think of multiple ways of, because I always say this here, when I'm teaching these things in America and various parts of the States, is that the multiple approach of thinking process can really make sometimes a company make or break. because they have tried the same strategy year after year, year after year, nothing is working, and nobody is thinking out of the box. And then you bring a consultant, McKinsey and all these people, especially when a new CEO comes to a company or a new vice chancellor, right? All those amazing speeches they come out and give, you think is coming out of their brain? Not really. No. They are coached and trained by these consultants, how to appear, what to say, what not to say. And companies spend thousands of dollars and rupees in India to train, coach these CEOs how to appear in public. Because one statement from their mouth can have a fluctuation of stock, right? So they have to be very careful. So the multiple points of view provides really that training to be confident of what they're saying, right? So what it does is, it does three things when you're looking at a case. One is it becomes meaningful because it's not just you or your thoughts, but you're starting with a group and you're presenting it with your professor. So it has some meaningful value in that discussion, right? And then what happens, you begin to, I want to show this. So you begin to take a position actually. A lot of times I've seen Indian students over the years, we are very polite, very shy. That's fine, we are all brought up like that. I lived here in Hyderabad, I was born here. You're looking at me, I wasn't like this, many years ago. But that's our culture. We are trained to be respectful, polite, and nice. Hopefully that's still there. I don't know how you guys are, but I think there's the same level of honor and respect is there. And there is nothing wrong with that. But the challenge I have seen in classes is, not just Indian students, Chinese and other students, not in American students, is that we are reluctant to take a position. We don't express our thoughts. And this is a ground to develop the practice with your colleagues, with your group, in your classroom. Challenge the professor, challenge your students. Of course, politely, not getting into confrontation, right? Very politely, very respectfully. But take a position. Train your mind to take a position. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. Who cares? But because it developed 2-3 different things. You improve your communication skill in front of people in a group session or a classroom. And then you take a position. I say, I think A should be the solution, and give reasons. That's fine. Somebody says B should be the solution. Somebody says C or D or E. It doesn't really matter. But you have expressed an opinion. Wow. What it will do, when you are at Google or some other company, you're in a group meeting, you express an opinion, and who knows? That opinion may be carried, and then billions of people will get to hear you, what you did. So case study provides a lot of different things, but you have to spend time. It can't be a quick overnight, you had a party all day, you just came back from Mumbai. I'm just picking on Bhavi here. It can't work like that. You got to spend time. Right? Okay, very good. Take a position, express your thoughts, so it becomes memorable. Right? Did I miss any slide here? No. Okay. So we talked about the individual study, group discussion, and class discussion. Right? Okay, very good. Position, meaningful thought. So the other part is, as I said, the capacity to express opinion in a very logical and coherent way. Sometimes people just ramble, and if you ask them after a few seconds, what did you say? They have no idea. Try this. A lot of times people are reading newspaper. If you sit in a coffee shop, right? I'm sure there are Starbucks somewhere, right? People read newspaper. Take the newspaper from their hand, not strangers, your friend, and ask them, what were you reading? They have no idea. And that is a problem. You have something in your hand, you're reading, and you have no idea. That is not cool, right? But the case method will train your mind. You look at a piece of paper from a far distance, your mind is trained to see what's written there, and you start thinking. Right? Okay, all right. So the most important thing, this is on this slide, part of the case study, is that you see a leadership in action, complete leadership, product, service, company, CEO, CFO, employees, team challenges. All of that is given in one case. So the mechanics of leadership, it comes alive. But you have to look for that. If you just read once and say, well, I did my reading, let's go to the group, then let's go to the class. Well, you haven't learned anything. Unless you find a complete circle of leadership in action. Who is a protagonist? You know what protagonist is? Okay, let's get to that. So leadership. And what we're trying to do with all those different things, we're trying to find a way, at least one way. It could be multiple ways. At least one way you find, one solution. Okay, we have something in hand. Let's do this. Right? Okay. All right. So as somebody said in the beginning, case is a solution, is a challenge. It's a dilemma or a problem. Here is an example. I'm sure I was given a tour of the library, and the librarian was saying that you guys also use Harvard Business School cases. That's wonderful. It doesn't have to be Harvard. It could be from anywhere else. Just a quick example here. So, but on the last page of the case, what I usually do, I jump to the last page. Because the last paragraph has questions. And questions, sort of a vague question, because they don't want to ask you straight questions, because then you will find the answer quickly. They'll ask you somewhere in the clouds, what is the challenge in the case? And then I go back and read the first page. Then I slowly read the other pages for a number of times, right? Because case has a challenge and a problem. And you have to pay attention, write it down, what they're asking, and what you are supposed to do. And see if there is a purpose in this. When you look at a case study, see what are they trying to address? Is there a meaning to this, or are we just doing some academic exercise to get a good grade and go to that 6 lakhs? Right? What are we trying to do? So find the purpose, and it's there, somewhere it's there. That's why the case is written, right? It has some meaning and a purpose. Okay, so we talked about this, and most important thing is you got to make a decision. You have to solve the problem. If you don't solve the problem, case is not solved. You're still in court fighting. You're getting public prosecutor, defense attorney, and the judge, they're all locked, and the jury. Solution is not in hand. So case means you have to make a decision, right or wrong. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes companies go bankrupt. Sometimes products fail, services fail. It's okay. But you've made a decision. Make a habit of making a decision. Don't be undecisive, because that's not how we are supposed to live. Make a decision, good or bad, and live with that. And go on to the next one, and next one, right? So there is something called in management is KSA, right? Knowledge, skills, and what is the other one? Abilities, right? KSAs, right? I think what is missing is attitude. A lot of people have a lot of knowledge, PhDs and wonderful degrees, but they can't put one sentence together. And we have seen people around us. There's nothing, it's not degrading or demeaning, but I want you to think with me why I'm saying these things. The attitude of the person makes 85% of that person. It's not so much skill, it's not so much knowledge. But do you have that right attitude to achieve things in life, or solve the problem, make the product succeed, make the service succeed? it requires tremendous amount of training and energy and the right attitude to do this, right? So remember this word from this workshop is the attitude. Hopefully a good, I mean, people have a lot of bad attitudes also. You don't want to be around them. You know, you meet, you say hello, shake hand, and they start mumbling. They give you all kinds of problems. And then you get to say, wow, what is going on here? And there are some people, a lot of energy, great attitude, want to achieve things in life, and want to take you with them. They just don't want to go alone. I think that's what we need in India and other places. The people who have right attitude to do things in life, right? Okay, all right. And the reason, this is actually very good. 10% of what we hear, we remember. 50% of what we hear, we see. 90% of what we hear, see, and do, which is a case study. Right? You're reading, you're listening, you're trying to address and solve a problem, right? Okay, protagonist. What is a protagonist? Without looking at this slide. Who can tell me? Yes, ma'am. Main character. So the first thing you should look in the case is, who is the main character? What is he or she trying to solve? That's a protagonist, the main character, right? Cold calling. What is cold calling? Who can define what is cold calling? Don't look at this. Cold calling, what is it? Okay, read. Cold calling is random call. It's like somebody from some company call you, you're having a dinner, somebody calls you, and you're not expecting that call. But you said maybe thinking your friend or your mom or your wife, right? And then this guy is asking you something. It comes out of the blue. Cold calling is used by professors to put you on the spot. Hey, you know, Jennifer, I'm using, like, hey, Shanti or somebody, and ask questions from the case. That's called cold calling. You're not expecting, but you're put on the spot. And this protagonist, cold calling, these things are part of the case study, right? I wanted to, what happened to, there is one slide I wanted to ask, wait. Oh, that slide is, okay, it's fine. Okay, so I wanted to test you, but I don't know what happened to my slide. Here is the answer for that. So I had 3 paragraphs on that slide. Maybe it's in other future slides. And I usually ask the workshop members, what is this? Is this a case or something else? So what is the difference between, who can tell me, what is the difference between a case study and a research paper? You already gave an answer, so I'm going to ask somebody. Thank you for raising your hand. What is the difference between a case study and a research paper? You should know by now, you're an MBA. The simple difference is, you want to answer, Bobby? Go ahead.
For the case study, all the facts and figures are already mentioned, whereas the research, what we do is find the data, go correct answer, and then make an analysis.
Okay, one more answer. Yes, sir, go ahead. Repeat that, please. Repeat that. Okay, so I think you read this very carefully, right? But thank you for that answer. So primarily, case study does not have a solution. Research paper has a solution. That's why at the end, there is a conclusion, there is recommendations, and limitations of the study and the future research. All is given to you in the research paper. If case study has a solution, there is no case. Why would you go to a court? Why would you go to a judge to solve something, because it's already solved? So always remember, as part of management program, you should know the difference between a research paper and a case study. But now you know very clearly, case does not have a solution. A research paper, 99.9999% have a solution. There are some papers, it's a question mark at the end, but they give a discussion and a conclusion. But they also say, well, I have these questions. Somebody who's picking up this research should look into these questions. That doesn't mean the guy or somebody has not provided solutions. He has, right? Or she has. Okay, so case is not a piece of research. It's not a propaganda of a company, right? It's not a summary. It's not a marketing tool. It's a real life situation. Let me know how much time I have so I can stop and ask questions, or we can get, all right. Here is something I found very interesting. When you read a case, all these things happen to you. Your eyes, your mind, your hand, your limbs, your knee, your gut, they're all involved. So I'm sure most of you work out in gym or some other place, but if you really spend time with a case study, all your body parts are moving. I guarantee you that all your body parts are exercising. That doesn't mean you should not go to the gym. You should. It's very important, keep fit. But the case develops your capacity to think, use your limbs, your tummy, your mind, your mouth, all those things, so that you become an effective manager and a leader when you're asked to solve the problems, right? Okay, teaching note. Teaching, always a case, especially for professors, there is a teaching note, some solution is provided to you. And most professors use and select cases which has a teaching note, meaning there is a solution given to them. So when they're reading, they have some answers available, but they don't share with you, obviously, because, then there is no point. So this is called the protagonist cold calling. It's called Socratic method. That a Socratic professor will do a cold call, put you on a spot, and you answer, try to answer or address the question if you are prepared, right? So we talked about problem defined and not defined. Okay, here is what actually, this is what I want. Read this for a second, but you know the answer now. If you can read from the back. So what is it? Is this a case or not? Somebody is shaking head in the back. Is this a case or not? This is not a case because there are some solutions at the end. It's not a case, right? Okay, all right. So it has an information but no stated conclusions. Case doesn't have a solution, right? And it's all about strategy. We began our discussion with this, leadership and strategy. That's what you're trying to address in a case. Okay, all right. Here is some numbers based on scientific research. That Pareto principle, if you have taken any management class, 80-20 rule, 20% of people do all the work and 80% are having good life. They're enjoying the fruits of that 20% hard work people are doing. Same thing happens in the case study. Very few people actually read, come to class, and then listen to others saying things, and then they say, oh yeah, now I can give some solutions, right? It's a big, and that's, again, it's not the professor's loss, it's your loss. Because you're paying money to go to school and college. Your time, more than money, is the time you're spending. That's gone. Think about this for a second. Right? We talked about deeper understanding, right? You really want to think through these things. Okay, so we can skip this. So we talked about how the leadership in process, when you read the case, carefully. You're looking for a vision, your strategy, how to execute, what are the metrics that are given to solve that problem, right? Okay, so I'm going to skip all of this, and again, as I said, there are no right or wrong answers. It depends on the team, depends on the group, depends on the product or a service, how you address that issue, right? So, and however you execute, if it's good for you, if you think it's going to be successful, it will be successful. There is no doubt about that. But the case has to tell you a story. It should have enough information so it looks like a story. If major parts are missing, it's not a case. If you're asking somebody to solve something and you're not providing proper data, how can you solve? You can't. You say something is missing here. I don't know what's going on here. Right? Okay, we talked about long and short cases. So the burden of proof, if you watch those law movies or TV shows, the burden of proof is not on the professor, it's on you. Are you following me what I'm saying? The burden of proof, because you are responsible, this is your course, this is your MBA. Professor already has a PhD, he has nothing to prove to you, he's employed. He's making money whether you study or not. He has a tenure. I don't know about symbiosis. In America, we usually have a tenure system. Once you get a tenure, nobody can fire you. Not even a governor of the state. Do you know that? Even a governor of a state cannot, unless you screw up big time. Tenured professors, nobody can test them. This is why it's important for you to take responsibility. Right? Okay, 25 pages, we can skip all of this. Structure, exhibits. Okay, let's get into teacher. My suggestion to in these workshops, I've done this for a number of years, I always tell professors to play a devil's advocate. What if, can you do like this? Okay, you read the case individually, in a group, you came to class, and professor doesn't agree with you, right? He says, okay, give me another solution. What if this goes wrong, if this goes wrong? Actually, what he or she is doing is trying to help you. Is trying to actually see, can you think something else? It goes back to the point of provoking your thought. So read the case very carefully, make a decision, right? This is for the professors, common challenges. Lack of preparation, always a lack of preparation, no time. 10 different committees, publishing papers, running around, there is no time to prepare, right? Lack of experience teaching with case method. And that can only be solved if they continue to use the case in every single classroom. It's not going to come just because you want to. If you don't practice, you won't be able to master that skill. Right? Okay. 7 Habits. There is a wonderful book actually by Stephen Covey many years ago. I don't know whether you read or not. It's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Anybody read that book? Please read. It's 20, 30, probably you read, 30-year-old book, but it's a small book which talks about, and after that, many books have been written on 7 habits of being a good mom, good father, good husband. You know, people just copy things so easily. But that was the first book. It talks about the habits of leadership. 7 habits of highly, highly effective people. So there's some of the things to remember. Professors, don't lecture them. Avoid lectures. You can do a very short overview of that concept in the beginning. But always leave the door open for questions. That means that you have to be prepared, professor. Because if you are leaving the door open for questions, they're going to ask you. And if you can't answer, maybe in one class, they'll say, yeah, it's fine. But if you continue to avoid not address those answers, then they're going to report to the dean and say, what is this problem with this guy? He's not prepared, right? So don't lecture them, but give them some overview and synopsis of what you're going to talk about on that specific day in class. And this is hard actually for people who have tenure, who have been in this field for 10, 15 years. You're not the center of attention anymore. Those days are gone. You're not a guru anymore. The center of attention has shifted to the students now. Harvard, Stanford, all the schools. So stop being the center of attention. It's okay to take a backseat, but what happens is that when you do that, actually you get more attention. Because students are looking for your leadership. They have a solution, but they're not sure. They won't ask you, hey, what do you think? Right? All right. So attitude we talked about, skill and knowledge is really not enough. I don't think it's enough. You need to have a very great attitude. Preparation we talked about, case teaching. All right, I'm going to stop here. Case analysis. One of the things I always recommend to professors, resolve the debate and don't fight in the class. You're not there to fight. I said take a position. I did not say fight for the position. You don't need to. It's a classroom, different scenarios, 5 minutes, different scenarios. You have an opinion, your other colleagues have an opinion, professor has an opinion, that's okay. Multiple points of view. There is no need to get into actual fighting. Please don't do that. That's not what I'm here for. I want you to really understand this, the time that we have spent together here. Teaching note. These are some of the examples. Okay, I already talked about. All right, mistakes. Oh, mistakes. Teaching notes should have an answer. It can, otherwise it becomes a case by itself. A note is a summary, has a solution. If you write a case, you write a teaching note, provide the answers, right? Because nobody's going to buy your case if you don't provide the answers. Too much lecturing, we already talked about it. Not good. Okay, all right. Questions to think about. One is, what should be the optimum class size? Depends. 25, 50. I just saw how he was showing me the auditorium. 1,200 seating capacity. Wow, I liked it. You can do a case study there. Take 1,200 people there. It's okay. I don't know how many students you have, maybe 120, 240. But perhaps once a semester, take everybody to the auditorium and teach a case and study the case. If you're not doing it, suggest to Dr. Prasad, Tanmay, and many other people. All of you should be in the one room. The whole new and old first year and second year should be in the one room and see how the dynamics. All right. Okay. All right. So problem, solution, and results. All right. Here are the resources again. All right. And questions can be asked by the professors and also students. Yes, sir. Go ahead. What's your name? State your name and that question.
So I'm Kamlesh.
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 Okay.
I'm student here.
Very nice.
So I have a slight different perspective about this case study method. So I would be happy if you could clear
Please,
that.
please.
So in this method, what we are doing is we are revisiting the problems which have been already solved or have been experienced by previous companies and all. So what if the problems we are going to face, or what if our case becomes a future case, then in that case, so what are we going to do? Means it's general human tendency to put the problem in line with the previously encountered ones. So what happens in that scenario? Suppose ours is a new problem.
Okay, very good. Great question. Did you hear what he was asking? Right? Okay. So here is what I think of the cases. It's like I said in the morning, somebody graduates with a music major, physics major, history major, and wants to work for Google. Now the question becomes, can Google employ that person? Will Google or Microsoft or Apple will be interested in a degree which may not have anything to do with what software engineers and statisticians are doing? But here is the catch. This person has wisdom and experience. And that's a transferable skill. If company is wise enough to interview this person and see the aptitude and the attitude of the person, this person could be very valuable asset for that company. Similarly, the cases which are solved, 20-year-old cases, has some lessons in it. And that's a skill if you practice. The new cases that are being written, the new challenges that you are going to face will become at least manageable and hopefully easy to solve. So never ever underestimate the previous experience, the previous learning. It could be a huge asset of the company. That's how I think. All right, other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
So you said that the faculty would rather go by the teaching note and then maybe pick up a case. Would you recommend a faculty to take a student kind of a survey and see what kind of a case study they would be wanting to opt for, and hence decide the case, maybe getting a pulse of what the student community wants? Would that be recommended for a faculty?
Yeah, so what I have done over the years in my MBA program classes and some PhD classes is that I have, let's say I'm teaching consumer behavior, I teach marketing, right? I have 50 cases at my disposal. I take all those 50 cases to the classroom, on product strategy, service, sales, whatever the topic is, and I list them on the board. And invite students to see, hey, what do you think of this case? Out of 50, how many can we select? And as these top 15s are good for you? And sometimes I use my judgment and I say, well, here are 10 cases we will for sure study, and here are 5 cases, you pick and choose. Because if you leave everything to the student, they're new, they're in the program, they just graduated from a bachelor's degree, they may not have a work experience, some of them coming straight from the school to school, right? So I would use a combo method where your life experience and teaching come into play, and then you leave a little window open, and then it becomes a collaborative effort, and they really enjoy the process. Okay, at least one more. Yes, sir. State your name and the question, please.
Sir, my name is Anak Goyal, and I'm a student, sir. Sir, with many of the cases I've had a chance to study, I see a problem that they are fixed in a very demarcated economy. Like we follow Howard case study method, so we learn a lot of Howard cases, and we do come to the Indian cases as well. But there is a big disconnect simply because of the business environment situations. So the learnings that we do get from an Indian case about maybe Amul, so the interactions of the business are very different in terms when you put that situation in America.
Right. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, I was thinking about this last night. because most of your Indians here, when I do this, we have, in workshops I do in different cities, we have people from all over the world. So what he's bringing up is a good point, is that the lessons that are in the cases, the questions, the dilemmas in the cases, is what happened in Boston and New York and other places. An Indian situation may be slightly different. And this is why one of the reasons I think there is an effort by the Management Institute of India, some association, where they are actually pushing the faculty to write local cases. You live here, you know your products and services, you know your company's environment, the culture. So you start writing your own cases and not depending on overseas cases to solve and address your problem, because they're different. But again, it goes back to that skill of those cases you can translate, not necessarily all of them, that wisdom, but maybe a few of them. And it's important for the faculty to start writing small cases, even a case study on symbiosis. Maybe a group of faculty can sit down. How did we come into this facility? It's a case. What were the challenges? So that's what I think an effort, perhaps the students can also join that group and push faculty to write some small cases. And that would be wonderful if we can actually do that. Right? Definitely. All right. Anything else? Anyone? Good? All right, so here's the homework. You can't just spend an hour with me and walk away, right? And Sab, it's okay to give them an assignment and you're responsible, right? How many points can you give in journal? A case study, one case. How many points you can give? Sab, उतना complex क्यों कर रहे हो? 5 points, 10 points, 10 points, something, give it to me, right? 5 points? Out of what, 100? That's 5%. You have to be careful because they're going to count on you and say, you promised in that lecture hall that you will give, I need that 5%. Is 5% okay? 5? Okay? All right, so you're all witness. They're going to give you 5% of points at the end of this semester, not the next semester. And here is the challenge. So now you know the process of a case study, right? So now it's your job to make sure, I'm going to leave this up to you. Pick a case, HR case, finance, whatever class you are in this semester. Pick one case and do the same process what I described. Individual study, sit with a group, go to the classroom, and share those ideas with the professor, right? And the case of your choice. And you will get 5 full % if you do it properly. Because see, what happens if you listen, we don't practice, we forget. Human beings, we forget things. Do it actually exactly. Read the case 3 to 5 times. And think through, think through, think through. Think for 9 seconds and decide on the case. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.